Hello, and welcome back to my small part of the universe. My name is Hailstone. Today, we'll be going over a short thought experiment. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Recently, I was asked if perhaps the Krolers could have been some form of subservient caste that was sent to Europa to terraform it for colonization. This got me thinking. While I have put a lot of thought into the Krolers being native to Europa, and a little towards them being aliens to this particular moon via a arc ship, and there are many other possibilities that I have woefully failed to consider. And one of them is how they got here in the first place, and where did they come from? So, today we will be exploring this mystery about the possible homeworld of the Krolers. Now, to begin with this, we have to guess what kind of technology that the Krolers would have had outside of colonization. While the Krolers were highly advanced in their technology, fundamentally it isn't that different from humans, save for perhaps the gravity sphere and a few others. So let's try to figure out how they got from point A to point B, in this case being Europa. Now, for this we'll try to stay in the world of realistic probability rather than on the edges of fantasy, mostly meaning some form of FTL or faster than light travel. While it is wholly possible that the Krolers could have used such a thing, we cannot say for certain, so it will be kept off the table until otherwise. More than likely, the Krolers used some form of generational arc ship, or at least extensively used cryo, along with some other form of stasis, with the artifacts minding the well-being of the crew and keeping them in top shape, in both mind and body, with their ship possibly reaching more than 30% or more in relation to the speed of light. This would mean we already have a good variety of reasonable candidates for the possible location of the Krolers' homeworld. But first we have to ask, what would their homeworld even be like? More than likely, the Krolers would have gone with an environment that they would already be accustomed to, in this case it being the ice moon Europa, meaning that they have come from a system that resembles the Jovian one. Within 10 light years sits several candidates for such a system, though for now we'll concentrate on 4 in particular: Epsilon Indi, Epsilon Eridani, Lolman 16, and WO855. The Epsilon systems Indi and Andari both contain 3 brown dwarves. Lolman is a binary brown dwarf system, and WO855 is a sub-brown dwarf, with both of these systems effectively being free-floating or being quote-unquote a rogue planet. While rogue planets are interesting concepts for intelligent life to be born from, these two would sit on the unlikely side in my mind, as there is the possibility for whatever moon or planet that may be in orbit around these gas giants may simply be too cold for anything inside to get out. Though if an object was close enough, tidal forces squeezing the moon or planet could possibly generate enough heat to access the surface, at least in some manner. Then we have the Epsilon systems. Indi, as far as we know, only contains 2 brown dwarves, which around them could be any number of moons. Eridani has long been looked at with the hope of life, but the only real problem with this system is not only the age of the star itself, but the amount of time that life itself takes to change and evolve, and perhaps not enough time has passed for complex life to thoroughly develop in the Eridani system, to reach the levels of technology and possibility that we see in the ruins of Europa. Indi is a far older system, and the one I am more than willing to bet that the Krolers came from, and possibly still survive. Though that is a thought and subject for another time. As already mentioned, Indi is a K-type orange dwarf nearing the type of our own sun. The homeworld of the Krolers would have been probably an ice moon similar to Europa, perhaps with a thinner ice sheet, or at least one that would have allowed easy access to the surface. Though it is possible that the Krolers eventually progressed enough to bore through to the surface on their own. For the age of this moon, I would surmise that it would be perhaps in the range of between 3 to 6 billion years, as I would think this would give it ample time for sentient life to develop on an ice shell moon. Though, truth be told, in a complete underwater environment without a dry surface or being closer to the sun, due to an overall lack of energy, it's hard to say how long evolution would take in such an enclosed system. The surface of the moon would be a torrid landscape of icy chasms and spires, covered in a near pristine surface, craters long ago filled in by tectonic activity, constantly being stretched and reformed, trapped between a binary dwarf system. As beautiful as the surface on such a frozen hellscape would be, this frozen hellscape would be a graveyard to any form of life that would step on it, due to the two brown dwarves basking the moon in a fiery radiation. Yet, the ice wasteland above and water below would dissipate any form of it from reaching too deep, allowing life to flourish in its cold depths. It's unknown how long it would take a race born under the ice to wonder what's beyond the icy ceiling, let alone produce the ability to understand and bore through it, and reach the surface. But regardless of the span of time, what could be said, when the Krolers finally emerged onto the surface of their home, they were already incredibly advanced and ready for the great void of space, or they already had some unmeasurable natural immunity to radiation. The Krolers would have had a difficult environment to tame, not only having to rig up permanent tunnels to the surface, but having to shield their technology from the oppressive radiation of the dual gas giants. If the Krolers had such a harsh homeworld, it would speak leagues about not only their intelligence, but their cleverness as well. Their mathematicians and engineers would have had to delicately weave strong ships and solid routes to ever hope to escape from the gravity wells of the brown dwarves. Though if such a moon in the Indy system couldn't have given rise to such an advanced race, there is at least one other possibility: free-roaming celestial bodies. It is quite possible that the universe is teeming with life, trapped below the frozen surface of impenetrable flying coffins, rogue planets, and rogue moons, and these may be even from the beginnings of the first galaxies, and could have been caught recently in terms of the galactic scale, and if they were given enough time and a stable orbit, a planet or moon could be hatched by a Jovian system, breaking apart the diamond-hard ice surface and effectively hatching a impossibly old, ancient civilization to a whole new universe they have never seen before, and then would begin to spread out with excitement and advanced technology in a new, deadly universe. And perhaps that's what caught up with them. While they were masters of their own environment, billions of years being trapped under ice would have made such a race numb to any potential hazards, and perhaps the Krolers' arrogance caught up with them in terms of sickness and mutation, following them to any outpost they established, leading to at least the ones on Europa eventually turning feral, abandoning their own ways, and effectively becoming a native of the Jovian moon.